does Yusaku go to the VR link space? How is he going to transport himself from the real world to the VR world? Hello and welcome to Dimsy's Domain, and today myself and YuGiOh are going to speculate and discuss and theorize how could Yusaku Fujiki, the main protagonist for YuGiOh Vrains, which is the 6th series of Yu-Gi-Oh, how on earth is he going to do it? So, you know, I don't need to introduce him. Anything Yu-Gi-Oh, check him out. Check him out for the latest news, the best discussions. Check out our Facebook page if you want to be part of this community, because our community is absolutely fantastic. We post the latest news
and we have discussions as well inside the YuGiOh Vrains Facebook group. And once the show does come out, we're going to be posting like little questions, little mini discussions, and if you guys post something that we like, we'll discuss about it in videos and give you a shout out.
You guys are going to be the first ones to hear and look at it. So let's talk about the topic at hand, and that is, of course, we know that Yusaku Fujiki is going to have a alternate form. He's going to have a form which is called the Playmaker, and oh, how convenient, because YuGiOh has a video on his channel talking about the Playmaker form. Now, but to go to the Playmaker form, how is he going to go to the VR world? So we have a few ideas. I'll just hand it over to you. What are your thoughts? How do you reckon that Yusaku Fujiki is going to transport or enter this VR link world, link space?
It's kind of hard, because either one, it's possibly going to be like the Battle City arc or the Noah filler arc, where they go in the virtual reality world through a pod. But that's boring. That's really boring. What I would imagine is there's a device, because you look at Yusaku's world through the images that we got, the dual image concept, it's futuristic. It's definitely taking place in a Zexal-esque, Arc V-esque timeline placement. So it's going to be futuristic, so I don't think it's going to be a pod of some sort, rather a device. And I remember you watching a show when I was younger called Chaotic, where they went in a virtual reality world as well. And that's where they settle the beef. So I think it's going to be like possibly not a ring, a device, some sort of watch, something like that, that gives them the ability to go to the virtual reality place. Now, we don't know how he's going to get that device. Maybe it's from the mysterious life form, which we also did do a discussion about. And we talk about how the mysterious life form is going to play out. Well, at least our thoughts, we don't know yet until YuGiOh Vrains does come out. But what are your thoughts on this?
So, okay, so we somewhat ruled out and hoping that it is ruled out that they don't enter some sort of pod like we saw in the virtual reality arc, and or very similar to Sword Art Online, whereby they entered this game and they hooked themselves up and they were kind of stagnant, not stoic, but they were incapacitated as they transport themselves into this world, and that makes them so very vulnerable, and that's going to be boring. That's going to be very, very boring. I do like the idea of very similar to 5Ds, but they kind of expand on it, where they have dedicated areas where as soon as you go in, instantly you transform, you get a body of data very similar to Digimon Adventure, whereby you enter this new realm, this digital world, and where a lot of new things are possible. And we know that the technology to portray the duel monsters whilst they're dueling has always evolved. And if you check out YuGiOh's channel, he's going to have a video talking about how the dueling portrayal, the technology in Yu-Gi-Oh has always evolved. So that's going to come out sometime soon, so make sure you watch out for that. But what if they evolve with them? Because we know that in Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5 we have the real solid vision system, whereby you can essentially touch the dual monsters and you can ride them. You can ride Odai's Pendulum Dragon in Arc 5. And what's the next step is if you make the person, the duelist, as well as the monster, the same format, so they're both made out of data, they're both equal in terms of the materialization, and that's one way to make it more advanced. And one thing they can do is have allocate areas or little tunnels, like you know in Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds, whereby when there was a duel, the roads got closed off and we had a track. We also saw that in the Synchro Dimension in Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5, and they could just take that to the next level and project a field within a certain area, within these tubes which are going and intertwining throughout the city or throughout the school, and they instantly get transported into this. It's gonna be really good.
I think that's really well done, dude.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a really good way to tackle that, and that's just one way they can utilize the real world school aspect with this new VR reality. And knowing that Yusaku Fujiki is a hacker, so yeah, you know that the technology side of things is going to be extremely advanced. Yeah.
Now, what I want to talk about is that, you know, the whole school aspect on how there might be tunnels located in the school or outside of whatever Yusaku's city's called.
Yeah.
I would love it if they had that aspect of, alright, the mysterious life form or someone in the VR realm calls for Yusaku. Like they have that, it's like Commissioner Gordon in Batman, how he has the bat signal. Something like that, alright? And Yusaku has to make up excuses during class. His master is yelling at him, or his teacher. And he's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom or something like that. And he escapes from the school into the tunnels or wherever the location is for him to enter the VR world. I would love that. That would be such an amazing thing to see.
One thing I would really like is very similar to the Power Rangers or most things. I want him to transform and transport himself to the VR dual space, whatever it may be called, through his dual disc. So he just presses the button and boom, he gets teleported to this new world, and he can go in and out, and that's how he teleports through these dimensions. And look, we know that in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 the use of the dual disc have been very important in the fact that they can make someone into a card. We saw that in Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimensions, whereby Joey still had the old dual disc and he's repairing it, and Kaiba brought out this new dual disc to kind of facilitate this new technology.
And to promote his company as well. And we also saw something similar to that in terms of getting carded in duel monsters, what initially started the trend for carding. But getting back on topic about Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains and how the dual disc might play in to how Yusaku teleports into the virtual reality world, because that would be quite interesting to see. Because if you look at Yusaku's dual disc, it doesn't have like that, how do I say it, that mount that allows a person to activate their card. I think that's going to be VR as well. But what if the dual disc has that addition where he can go into the virtual reality realm? And that would be such a nice way to incorporate the dual disc and actually make it important, rather than it just being used to summon cards.
Because that's the thing, they've been doing that in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, whereby you don't have the mount for the cards, it's more of a little laser thing that comes out. And also the dual disc is also used to transport to other dimensions using Akaba Reiji's technology, the Leo institution. So the dual disc has yeah, so the dual disc has always been the conduit to facilitate the latest technology, be it through dueling, and I think that that's definitely going to be the main instrument to transport themselves into this VR Link space. But anyway guys, I'm going to pass it over to Aigami. Do you have any final words, I say, before we pass it on to the comment section?
Any final words to really say about this is that we talk about how they go inside the VR world, but how do they come back? Will it have the same mechanics with the dual disc, or will it possibly have some sort of switch or something like that in the VR world? Because you look at the real world, and this is just me speculating, it's not as complex as the VR world would be, because we've seen the data when we've seen the dual image concept where there's data running on the data wind while they're dueling. The monster's effects are represented on the data wind. So what I think is that, and this would be quite interesting and fun in my opinion, is that it's easy to get there, but it's hard to come back. And maybe that might be a challenge that Yusaku has to face in the first arc, or the first portion of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains.
But here's the thing, one way for them to exit that world is if your life points go to 0, if you lose the duel, you're kicked out. You're kicked out straight.
That's amazing. And what if they actually keep, well, I don't know about that, but like, what if they actually keep the life points that they lost, so there's no regen?
Now, talking about life points, please watch out for a video, and this is once again a discussion, an open question with you guys, where we're going to be discussing, should they be using 8,000 life points in the new series? Because there was rumors before which were false, but it is a thing to discuss regarding whether they should use 8,000 life points moving forward, because in Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimensions they did use 8,000, which a lot of people did overlook, but that's a discussion for another day. I'll leave it to you in the comment section down below. What do you think? How do you think Yusaku is going to transport himself to this new world? How are they going to exit? What's going to be the mechanic? What's going to be the significance? Are they going to be in a feature whereby they have to lie down and connect themselves to a machine, or is the duelist going to fully transport and teleport them? So I will leave it to you guys, and make sure you subscribe to BYGIGAMI for
subscribe
the best.
to Dimsy's
For
domain.
the best.
It's actually easier to subscribe to Dimsy than me. All you have to do, all it takes is a second, guys. Just go down there and press that red button.
Takes 2 seconds to subscribe to him, and free if you want to also follow the Facebook page. And with that being said, like, share, comment, subscribe. You may now exit Dimsy's domain. Thank you and goodbye.